Listen carefully. Somewhere, right now, in a place you cannot see, someone is looking at your life. Not gossiping, not judging, watching. And what they are watching has stopped them in their tracks. They have connected 3 dots about you, 3 things that used to look like accidents. And now they cannot stop staring at the pattern. Hear this clearly. This is not about fame. This is not about attention. This is about the fact that heaven has been assembling your story piece by piece, and someone in a high place, someone with influence, someone with authority, someone you may never meet face to face, has just noticed what God has been doing in the shadows of your life. You felt it before you had words for it. That strange sensation that your pain wasn't random, that your delays weren't punishment, that your loneliness wasn't rejection. Something in you always whispered, "There is more to this than what I'm seeing." And you were right. God is saying, "I did not let you fall apart for nothing. I let you fall apart so I could put you back together in a shape the enemy never saw coming." Somebody up there just connected the dots, the wound, the waiting, the war, and now they are fascinated, because what looked like a broken life is actually a blueprint. If you are hearing this right now, sit still, turn the noise down, because this is not a random video that found you. This is a divine appointment, and what I am about to say to you, you will remember for the rest of your life. Keynote 1. The dots they connected. Let me take you back before the version of you that people meet today. Back before the smile you wear so well, back to the nights you don't talk about. There was a version of you that cried in silence because you didn't want anyone to see you weak. There was a version of you that smiled in rooms full of people while dying quietly on the inside. There was a version of you that prayed prayers nobody answered, or so it seemed. You whispered, "God, are you even listening?" And heaven never said a word back. Listen carefully. That silence was not abandonment. That silence was assignment. God does his deepest work in the rooms where you feel most alone. While you thought he was absent, he was actually building something inside you that noise could never build. Comfort builds nothing. Ease builds nothing. But silence? Silence builds depth. And depth is exactly what the world is fascinated by, even when it doesn't understand why. This is the first dot. Your pain was never wasted. Every night you sat in the dark, asking why nobody understood you. That was the dot of isolation. Not isolation as punishment, but isolation as preparation. God separates the chosen before he elevates them. He did it with Joseph in the pit. He did it with Moses in the desert. He did it with David in the fields, forgotten by his own family while his brothers stood in the spotlight. He is doing it with you now. Hear this clearly. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. There's a difference between a season where God is absent and a season where God is so present, so close, so intentional, that he removes every other voice just so you can hear only his. That is what your isolation was. Not neglect. Surgery. Now here is the second dot. The betrayal. You remember the people who left. The friend who stopped calling, the one who smiled to your face and spoke against you behind closed doors, the one you trusted with your secrets who later used them as weapons. That betrayal broke something in you. It made you question your own judgment. It made you build walls you swore you'd never need. God is saying, I allowed the betrayal, not because I didn't love you, but because I loved you too much to let you build your future on a foundation of fake people. Some doors had to close so violently that you would never be tempted to walk back through them. Judas had to leave the table before the resurrection could happen. Some people in your life were never meant to see your victory. Their exit was not a loss. It was a divine subtraction. God was doing the math of your destiny, and some names simply did not add up to where you're going. This is the dot they connected. They saw the betrayal that should have destroyed you, and instead it refined you. They watched you get back up after people you loved walked away, and something about your resilience made them stop and stare. Because most people don't recover from betrayal with grace. Most people become bitter. But you? You became more discerning, more prayerful, more dangerous to the enemy's plans. That is rare. That is noticeable. That is fascinating to heaven and to the people heaven has assigned to watch you. Listen carefully. The third dot is the war you fought that nobody saw. There were seasons where you battled thoughts that told you to give up. Seasons where anxiety sat on your chest at 3 a.m. and whispered that you were forgotten, that your prayers were bouncing off the ceiling, that everyone else was moving forward while you stood frozen in place. That was spiritual warfare, not weakness. Warfare. The enemy does not send warfare against people who are irrelevant. He does not waste ammunition on someone who is not a threat. If your mind has been a battlefield, if your emotions have been under siege, if you have had to fight to believe on days when belief felt impossible, that is proof, not of your failure, but of your value in the spirit realm. You don't send an army after a nobody. You send an army after someone carrying a calling too big to ignore. God is saying, I let you feel the weight of that war so you would learn how to fight in the spirit before I hand you authority in the natural. I could not promote someone who had never learned to stand. So I let the wind blow against you until your roots grew so deep that nothing could move you again. 3 dots. Isolation, betrayal, warfare. And when you connect them, they don't spell out failure. They spell out formation, someone in a position of influence, someone you have never met, someone whose radar is trained to notice authenticity in a world drowning in fake. Looked at your story and could not look away. Because what they saw was not a wounded person seeking pity. They saw a transformed person carrying weight with dignity. They saw scars that had become signatures. And they thought, who is this person, and why does their pain look like power? Hear this clearly. You may still be in the middle of your story. You may still feel the sting of what you've lost. You may still wake up some mornings wondering if any of this will ever make sense. But hear me. Nothing about you has gone unnoticed. Not one tear, not one prayer whispered through clenched teeth, not one night spent fighting thoughts that told you to quit. Heaven recorded it all, and now the record is speaking on your behalf, even in rooms you will never enter. This is what it means to be chosen. Chosen does not mean easy. Chosen does not mean comfortable. Chosen means you were selected to walk a road most people would abandon halfway through, so that when you arrived at the other side, your testimony would silence every excuse the enemy tries to use against the next generation. Somewhere, someone with influence looked at the pattern of your life. The setback that became a setup, the rejection that became redirection, the goodbye that became a doorway. And they leaned forward in fascination, not because you're perfect, because you're proof. Proof that God still finishes what he starts. Proof that a person can be broken down to nothing and still rise up whole. Proof that faith survives even when everything else in life falls apart. Listen carefully, because this next part matters. The fascination people feel around you is not about charisma. It's not about how you speak or how you look or how confident you appear. It's about the weight in your presence, the quiet knowing in your eyes that says, I've been through fire and I'm still standing. That weight cannot be manufactured. It can only be forged, and it was forged in you during every single season you thought was wasted. So if you are in a season right now where nothing seems to be moving, I need you to hear this. God is not slow. God is precise. He is not late. He is timing your emergence so perfectly that when you finally step into what he has for you, no one will be able to deny that it was him and not luck, not connections, not networking, not manipulation. Him. Divine timing does not rush. It ripens. And you are ripening right now. Even in the waiting, even in the silence, even in the tears you cry alone at night. Someone connected the dots, and they are fascinated. not because your life looks perfect on the outside, but because your spirit refused to break on the inside. That is rare. That is holy. That is chosen. Keynote 2. What happens next? Now that the dots have been connected, something is about to shift. And I need to prepare you for it, because most people are not ready for what happens after heaven notices them. Hear this clearly. When God begins to move on your behalf, the first thing that happens is not applause. It is separation. People who have been comfortable with the old, wounded, unsure version of you will suddenly feel uncomfortable around the new you, the healed you, the confident you, the you who no longer begs for a seat at tables that were never meant for you. This will confuse them. Some will accuse you of changing. Some will whisper that you've become distant, that you think you're better than them. Do not explain yourself to people who were only comfortable with your brokenness. God is saying, I am not removing people to punish you. I am removing people to protect the assignment. You cannot carry a new level of glory around people who only knew how to relate to your old level of pain. Let them go gently, but let them go. This is the loneliness of the chosen, and I want you to understand it so it does not frighten you when it comes. The loneliness is not because something is wrong with you. It is because you are being prepared for a room that most people cannot follow you into. Moses climbed the mountain alone. Elijah heard the still, small voice alone. Jesus prayed in Gethsemane while his closest friends slept. The deepest revelations of your life will happen in solitude, not in a crowd. Do not fear the empty room. The empty room is where heaven speaks loudest. Listen carefully. You are going to notice signs. Small things that used to feel like coincidence will begin to feel like conversation. A verse will jump off the page at the exact moment you needed it. A stranger will say something that answers a question you never spoke out loud. A dream will visit you with a clarity that feels different from ordinary sleep. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. God is not silent anymore because the season of silence has done its work. Now he is speaking clearly because you have finally become quiet enough to hear him. Pay attention to the signs. Write them down. Because what feels small right now will one day be the very thing you look back on and say, that's when everything started to change. God is saying, I am removing the fake people first, then I am healing the wounds second, then I am releasing the breakthrough third. You cannot skip the order. You cannot rush the process. Every person who tries to grab the breakthrough before the healing ends up carrying their brokenness into their blessing, and it poisons everything they touch. I love you too much to let that happen to you. So I am taking my time with you, even when it feels like too much time. This is the part where I need to speak a prophetic warning over you, so listen closely. There will be a moment, very soon, where you are tempted to give up right before the breakthrough. This is not a coincidence. This is strategy, the enemy's strategy. He cannot stop what God has ordained, so he tries to convince you to quit one step before the miracle. Do not let exhaustion make your decisions. Do not let one hard week convince you that the whole assignment was a mistake. The finish line is closer than it has ever been, and that is exactly why the resistance feels heavier than it has ever been. Storms don't intensify near the beginning of the journey. They intensify near the shore. Hear this clearly. Your breakthrough is not coming despite the pain you walk through. It is coming because of it. Every tear watered a seed you couldn't see. Every sleepless night built a strength you couldn't measure. Every betrayal taught you a discernment you couldn't have learned any other way. Nothing was wasted, not one drop, not one moment. I want you to picture something. Picture the person you were 3 years ago, afraid, uncertain, easily shaken by every rejection, every disappointment, every closed door. Now picture the person reading these words right now, still standing, still believing, even when belief feels fragile, still whispering, God, I trust you, even through clenched teeth and tired eyes. That transformation did not happen by accident. That is the work of a God who refused to let you stay the same. Transformation always comes before elevation. God will never promote a version of you that isn't ready to steward the promotion. That is why the process felt so long. He wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. And preparation, though painful, is proof that something significant is coming. You don't prepare a soldier for a battle that will never happen. You don't refine gold that has no value. The fact that you have been through fire is evidence that you were never ordinary to begin with. Listen carefully. The people who are watching you, the ones who connected the dots, the ones who are fascinated by the pattern of resilience woven through your story, they are not the ones giving you your breakthrough. God is. But He is using your testimony, your endurance, your refusal to quit as a signal that flags you as ready. Favor doesn't fall on people who are still fragile. Favor rests on people who have proven through fire that they can carry weight without breaking. You are that person. You are the one who kept praying when the answers didn't come. You are the one who kept showing up when no one was clapping. You are the one who forgave people who never apologized because you understood that carrying bitterness would cost you more than it would ever cost them. That kind of strength does not go unnoticed. Not by heaven. Not by the people heaven positions around you. God is saying, I am about to connect you to rooms you never had access to before. Not because you networked your way in. Not because you manipulated your way in. But because I opened a door that no man can shut, and I am walking you through it myself. Get ready. What took years to build in silence is about to be revealed in a moment. And that moment is closer than you think. Hear this clearly. The victory you are about to walk into will not erase the pain you walked through. It will redeem it. There is a difference. Erasing means it never happened. Redeeming means it happened for a reason, and now that reason is finally becoming visible. You will look back at the isolation, the betrayal, the spiritual warfare, and instead of feeling shame or regret, you will feel gratitude. Because you will finally understand that was never punishment. That was preparation for a purpose too big to be handed to someone who hadn't been tested. So here is what I need you to do. Stop apologizing for how long your process has taken. Stop comparing your timeline to people whose assignments were smaller and lighter than yours. God does not build a mansion on the same timeline as a tent. Your foundation had to be deep because what's being built on top of it is not small. Trust the depth of the digging. It matches the height of what's coming. Listen carefully, one final time in this section. Someone high up connected 3 dots about you, and they are fascinated. But long before any human noticed your pattern, God had already written the whole story. He knew the isolation before you felt it. He knew the betrayal before it happened. He knew the war before the enemy declared it, and he already knew the ending, your ending, before the beginning ever started. You were never a mistake. You were never an accident. You were chosen, set apart, and prepared in secret for a moment that is now finally arriving in public. Closing. Hear this clearly, one last time, because this is the part your spirit needs most. You are not too broken to be used. You are not too late to be chosen. You are not too tired to finish what God started in you. Every scar you carry is a signature of survival, and heaven does not waste survivors. It sends them. God is saying, I see you. I have always seen you. Every night you thought no one was watching, I was watching. Every prayer you thought went unanswered, I was answering. Just not on your timeline, on mine. And now, the very thing that made you feel forgotten is about to make you unforgettable. Someone connected the dots, and now, so have you. If these words touched something deep inside you, if you felt heaven speaking directly to your spirit through this message, I want you to comment the word chosen right now. Let it be your declaration. Let it be your seed of faith planted in this moment. Strengthen your faith today. Don't wait for the storm to pass before you start trusting God. Trust Him in the middle of it. Trust His timing even when it feels slow. Trust his silence, even when it feels heavy. He has never abandoned you, and he never will. Subscribe so you don't miss the next message heaven has for you. There are more dots being connected, more chapters being written, more breakthroughs waiting on the other side of your obedience. You were chosen before the foundation of the world. And nothing that has happened to you, not the pain, not the betrayal, not the silence, has changed that truth. Walk forward. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.